All right, what is going on, everybody? How is everybody doing? Today, I just kind of want to talk about the Washington Wizards and what they have looked like so far at the start of the 2026 NBA season. I mean, let's be honest, nobody had expectations for this team really going into the year. Nobody was expecting them to make the playoffs, let alone the play-in tournament this season. It was always going to be, we just need to develop this young core. They're still in like the tail end of the rebuild. It feels like they traded away Bradley Beal in the 2023 offseason, and we're starting to just trying to get a figure out of who are the building blocks on this team going forward. They have had multiple top 10 draft picks since they've traded away Bradley Beal. They've had a couple lottery picks over the last few drafts, and this is a team that has a lot of flexibility moving forward, but they don't really have the guy right now, right? When you look at some of the rebuilding teams over the last few years, when the Pistons were out there low, they had Cade Cunningham. When the Magic were out there low, they had Franz Wagner and Paolo Banchero. When the San Antonio Spurs were out there low, they had Victor Wembanyama. Now, I'm not saying that the Washington Wizards have to have somebody like that on their roster right now. Like, those are the premier young assets in the league at one point in time. But what I've seen so far from this team this year has to be very encouraging if you're the Wizards front office, if you're a Wizards fan, because this team, let's be honest, also hasn't really been great this century. There was a few good years with John Wall and Bradley Beal in the mid 2010s. They kind of fumbled it a little bit with the Jan Vesely pick in 2011, the Otto Porter pick in 2013, some bad free agency signings like Jan Mahimi. So this was always going to be maybe the most exciting part of Washington Wizards basketball in quite some time. 15 wins in 2024, 18 wins in 2025. Maybe they eclipse 20 wins here in 2026. But I'm loving this young core so far this season. I think they're playing hard. I like what they're doing defensively at the moment. And I think some of the guys that maybe didn't have the best rookie years or maybe the most encouraging rookie years are taking steps here in year number 2. And I feel like this might be the last year of the rebuild. Now, the thing with the NBA, right? Like, you can tank, you can hope that you're going to get a good draft pick. And we've seen it time and time again when they implemented the new lottery odds in the 2019 draft, that it's not always set in stone that you're going to get a top 3 pick, top 4 pick if you have the worst record in the NBA. So I'm not here to say that the Washington Wizards will end up with a Darren Peterson, will end up with an AJ DeBanza or a Cameron Boozer, but this team also, like, they don't have their pick if it's outside the top 8. It would go to the Knicks. We know that they're going to lose games. If you watch Chris Middleton's final pass against the 76ers last night, I don't know if he got the call from Brian Keefe. I don't know if he got the call from the front office saying, yeah, we're not winning this game. Just throw the ball away and just help us out here, Chris Middleton, because what were we doing? There was 6.5 seconds left on that game clock. And they took the 76ers to overtime. They blew that game. Yeah, they definitely could have won that game for sure. They ended up losing that one 139-134. They had a 16-point lead going into the fourth quarter. I think they had like a 10-point lead with 2 or so minutes remaining. They ended up getting outscored 32-16 in the fourth quarter, and they ended up losing 139-134. And if you guys do enjoy maybe these team breakdowns so far this year, let me know. I could just kind of do these throughout the week here on YouTube. And so far this year, they had a solid game against the Milwaukee Bucks. I mean, this team's defense right now isn't great. They lost by 13, 133-120 to the Bucks. Then they kind of shocked everybody when they beat the Dallas Mavericks 117-107 last Friday. That felt like it was maybe rock bottom early in the part of the year for the Dallas Mavericks, because that coincided the same night where Luka Doncic had like almost a 50-point triple-double against the Minnesota Timberwolves. They would go on to get blown out against the Charlotte Hornets 139-113. And then I just mentioned, yeah, they lost by 5 to Philadelphia in overtime, who's better than we thought this year for sure. And you could probably go back to like the Nuggets game last year for Alex Sarr, but I think outside of that, this may be the most impressive Alex Sarr game I have seen in the first year and so in his career. If you followed like my draft content, he was my #1 ranked prospect for the 2024 draft. I would have taken him #1 overall. And I think this year, he's looked the part, man. I think he's looking more physical inside. I think he's a little bit more patient around the rim, which I think is crucial. Like, if you watch Johan Berenjay in the summer league, it's just like the timely jumps, not forcing stuff inside, letting guys get in the air, knowing when to get to your spots. That was just like stuck out in my head. So I think Alex Sarr has looked really good to start off this season. There's still some bad plays. There's still some bad turnovers. There's still some bad fouls, but he's still incredibly young in this league. And this is just what, game 4 into his sophomore season. And he put up 31 points, 11 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks. And most of that, like in the first quarter, going up against Joel Embiid, who, yeah, is not maybe the Joel Embiid he used to be in the past, but Embiid still played 23 minutes in this one. And I thought Alex Sarr really looked the part against Embiid on Tuesday night. And I'm just encouraged about Sarr's game so far. Like, last year, he was abysmal shooting the ball in the first part of the season. He was more so abysmal around the rim, and he's 7 foot tall. So you're just like, why is he not being efficient around the basket? This should be his bread and butter. And he was shooting sub 40% from the field as a 7 foot big man, which is really discouraging. But towards the end of the year, the 3-point shot decided to fall a little bit more. And it's a small sample size. It's a 4-game sample size this year. He could go on a terrible cold streak, or he can go on a heater over the next few weeks. But he's averaging 19.5 points, 9 rebounds, 4.5 assists, 55% from the field, 36% from three to start off the year. Those two numbers have to be so encouraging if you are a Washington Wizards fan. Just what he's shooting around the rim, about 60% on twos and 36% on threes. Like I said, I would be very shocked if those are his numbers at the end of the year. But if I could get close to 50% from the field, if I can get close to 35% from three, I will 100% take that for Alex Sarr going into year number 2, because he's 20 years old. He's going to be 20 most of this year. He doesn't turn 21. We're going to have like a legal drink here in the United States until April 26th, towards the end of this season. And probably their season is going to be over by April 26th. So I've been very encouraged about Sarr. He's a rim protector, but like what he could do as a floor spacer and a ball handler, and honestly, the court vision at his size. He's averaging 4.5 assists, and he probably should be averaging more than that this year. You can have some versatility if you wanted him as like your full out center, and you can go 5 wide, or you can have like a twin tower effect, have him at the 4, and it could be a non-shooter at the 5 because Sarr can space the floor. So I've been very happy about Sarr so far. I'm trying to help my pre-draft rankings where I had him number 1. And was he the best rookie? No. Was he even like a top 5 rookie last year? Not really, but I did say I didn't expect him to be a top tier rookie. I thought it was going to take some time. So if he figures it out in year number 2, I'd be very happy about that. Now, one player that everybody's been talking about this year, and for good reason, Kyshawn George. So Kyshawn George was the 24th overall pick in the 2024 draft. You know what's funny? The Knicks could have taken Kyshawn George, but they decided to trade this pick with Washington to move down. And yeah, then they ended up trading the Dylan Jones pick for like 5 seconds. I don't know. Kyshawn George would be perfect on the New York Knicks instead of Bakomi Daddier. Good job, Leon Rose. Don't get me started with that one. But yeah, Kyshawn George coming out of Miami, 3-and-D prospect, right? If you watched him at Miami, he was somebody that didn't really feel comfortable as like a downhill attacker in isolation, or honestly with his pull-up jumper within the 3-point line. And he's building that confidence in year number 2. These are the cool development stories that, like, in this game too, like you watched VJ Edgecombe at Baylor last year. He was not doing what he's doing this year. VJ Edgecombe's scoring trajectory and progression has looked night and day from it did at times last year at Baylor. And Kyshawn George, back to him, could really be maybe the most sought after Wizards asset after this season. I think going into the year, like you're taking Trey Johnson, you're taking Bilal Coulibaly, maybe you're taking Bub Carrington Sarr. Kyshawn has been off to a heater so far this year. He had 21 points on their first game against the Milwaukee Bucks. 34 points was pretty much the breakout performance against the Dallas Mavericks, where everybody was talking about him. He was getting to his spots on the floor. He looked comfortable with the ball in his hands. And it's not like he's just like a score first guy out there, right? It's not like he's like Cam Whitmore at times. Like, he's legitimately a 3-and-D player, or a 2-way player. I should even say 3-and-D player, because he's just a full-out 2-way player now, if the way that this 2-point percentage is going to look with the 3-point percentage and getting to the free throw line as well. He's taken about 15 free throws so far this year. Most of that was in the first 2 games of the year, so hopefully he can kind of get back to his ways there. He didn't really have a great performance against the Charlotte Hornets, which is a little bit of a letdown in a way, just because I'm not a big fan of the Charlotte Hornets defense, so I thought he could have performed a little bit better. But hey, we're in game 3 of year number 2. Then he had 20 points against the Sixers, shot 57% from 3. Couldn't really get to the free throw line, but hey, that's going to come and go. You're not going to get a great whistle as well for somebody that's 21 years old. He will be 22 in December, so he's a little bit older than Alex Sarr, but he's 6'7". Yeah, get your joke out of the way. He can guard multiple positions. He can be versatile around the rim, and he can use that length and that long wingspan he has on the perimeter to just kind of get to the spots he wants, and he's not going to have to worry about getting blocked in that range or just kind of feeling uncomfortable as well. So I've been very impressed by Alex Sarr so far this year, and Kyshawn George. And like I said, you just got to be thrilled if you're a Wizards fan about those two moving forward, as well as their most recent top 10 pick, Trey Johnson, who was the 6th overall pick, kind of like the end of that tier 1 in the 2025 draft, where they missed out on a Cooper, they missed out on a Dylan Harper, they missed out on a VJ Edgecombe, Con Knipple, and Ace Bailey in a way. But I thought Trey Johnson was closer to those tier, like in that tier 2. It was Flag and Harper tier 1, and then it was like those 4 wings in tier number 2. And Trey Johnson has looked the part this year as well. I've been very happy about Trey Johnson's start to this year's season. I kind of worried a little bit about his efficiency to start off the year, just because he's a guard with no real like cohesion and veteran teammates around him that like could take some of the load off him. It's not like he's playing with Anthony Davis over there in Dallas. Like his veterans are Chris Middleton and CJ McCollum, who have to be getting word from the front office that they're trying to tank this year. I don't know, man. It really feels like that. Because CJ and Middleton made some really boneheaded plays against the 76ers. Johnson probably had his worst game. No, he definitely had his worst game against the 76ers yesterday. The shots just weren't falling. I thought some of the looks were fine and pretty similar to what he got in the first 3 games against Milwaukee, Dallas, and Charlotte. But the three-point shot has been very good to start off the year. 39% from 3, 28 attempts. He's knocked down 11 of them. I don't think the field goal percentage is going to end the season like in a great range. Like it's probably going to be around like 42 to 44%, which is completely fine for a rookie guard in a non-winning environment where he's going to have to force a ton of jumpers. So I think Trey Johnson has looked the part this year. And what I like about his game so far, it's looked easy for him at times. He uses his speed, like acceleration. He can decel as well. And he's just so shifty with the ball in his hands where I think he's going to be a nightmare for opposing defenses throughout his rookie season. He's still just 19 years old. He'll turn 20 in March. And I think we have like a formidable 3 at the top between Sarr, George, and Johnson. I guess if you're asking me like who could be the Cade out of that group, it would be tough to figure out. Like I'm still going to kind of go back on Alex Sarr because I think I liked Alex Sarr as a prospect more than I like Trey Johnson as a prospect as well. So I would go with that. Middleton and McCollum, I would be very shocked if both of these guys are on the team after the trade deadline or the buyout market. I think from what I've seen from Middleton so far, he had a chance to win the game against Philadelphia, and like his pattern, like mid-range jumper where he's hit plenty of game winners in his career, he misses it. Like their efficiency, well, Middleton's efficiency has been a lot better than McCollum. It's 47% from the field. It's 35% from 3. Defense, don't ask him to play it at this point. Maybe he would on a different team in a completely different environment, but Chris Middleton has not looked great defensively this year. McCollum also has not looked good defensively this year, and he's also shooting 32% from the field, 25% from 3, playing 33 minutes a night. Maybe the front office is happy, like they're going to keep McCollum on the team if he can kind of tank for them later in the year. It hasn't been like the best start for Bub Carrington so far, who was maybe their best rookie last year. Probably their best rookie. Yeah, definitely their best rookie in 2025. Bub is 20 years old. He's going to be fine going forward. I never really thought of Bub as like a franchise point guard or a franchise shooting guard for this team, but I think he can really be that spark plug for them off the bench moving forward. This was like the main asset they got back in the Denny Avdia trade. And Bub's been off to a slower start, finishing around the rim, just shooting 20% on 2s. He shot around 66% from 3 this year, averaging around 4 assists and 8 points throughout this season. Like I said, though, I think Bub is going to be fine going forward. It's going to be tough for him to at least have like the same offensive workload as he had last year, with some new names here: Trey, McCollum, Middleton, and Cam Whitmore as well, who's been like a bucket at times this year for the amount of minutes he's played in. Like he's playing around 17 minutes a night, averaging 10 points, but he does not like to pass the ball. We knew this though. It's the same player at Villanova. It's the same player at Houston. Cam Whitmore is out there to try to score buckets. I was a little bit lower on Cam Whitmore this offseason when he got traded. I really wasn't that fascinated about him in Washington, and I'm still not really that fascinated about him in Washington. I mean, it cost them multiple second-round picks, so I think you're fine giving that up for the upside he could provide you. I'm not sure if he actually got his 4th-year rookie contract picked up. I wouldn't be surprised if it didn't, but like we're still 4 games into the year. I think Washington is probably hoping to parlay like the 2 seconds they gave up for Whitmore to flip Whitmore for something maybe better eventually at the deadline or at the end of the year. I think when you're looking at the Wizards like 5-year outlook, I would be very shocked if Cam Whitmore was in that 5-year outlook, given that he is somebody that isn't really the best complementary piece. He's not a connecting piece, and I don't think you're going to feel comfortable with Cam Whitmore getting double-digit shot attempts a night. Like he's playing 17 minutes, and he's taking about 10 shots a game this year, which is fine. Hey, someone's going to have to try to shoot the ball. I'm just not sure if Cam Whitmore is going to be like in their long-term plans, especially like when Bilal comes back. Like, is that 17 minutes per game going to drop to like 13 minutes a game? Because you still want to see what you have in Bilal Coulibaly, because if we're looking at guys that can kind of plug and play, I'm trusting Bilal as a help defender, on-ball defender, rebounder, just a more physical guy in general, and is a more willing passer than Cam Whitmore when I'm throwing them out there with like a Kyshawn George, an Alex Sarr, or a Trey Johnson. Corey Kispert has been like fine this year. He's not really knocking down his threes too much. I think we're at a point where he's probably going to get traded this year at the deadline. Although I think he's got to show a little bit more defensively if teams are going to want to give up a willing asset. Marvin Bagley in this big man rotation was a big reason why I thought the Wizards could struggle a ton this year. Just seeing him as a defender out there, he's kind of been their backup 5. I'm excited for when this team adds like another intriguing center. Maybe we're done with the Tristan Vukcevic experiment, a player that I liked, but we can all see his flaws out there. Will Riley may benefit this from a little bit of time in the G League this year, especially when Bilal comes back, because you have a lot of wings that you're just going to give more shots and run time to. I'd rather Will Riley try to refine his weaknesses, or he's trying to refine. Try to just work on his weaknesses, kind of just go through the ebbs and flow of a higher workload, playing for the capital city go right now. I still like Justin Champagnie as a player, but there's just, like I said, so many mouths to feed here in Washington where it's going to be really tough for him to get some run time. Same with like Jameer Watkins this year as well. And I like AJ Johnson. I mean, I liked him a little bit less, maybe a lot less than some people did in the offseason. I really wasn't like thrilled about him going into the 2024 draft, and I was even less thrilled about him playing for the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, he's extremely raw still. He's 20 years old. Last year, he showed some athletic flashes, but he really struggled with his overall efficiency. So we'll see if he ends up spending some time in the G League this year. I don't think he's in the G League right now. So, like, don't quote me on it. Like, they may have already sent down Will Riley, AJ Johnson, or some of those guys going forward, or Jameer Watkins as well. Shout out to Anthony Gill collecting a paycheck on this team. But yeah, I just think it's been a fun start for the Washington Wizards. I think if we're trying to predict the future, I'm not sure if Brian Keefe is going to be coaching this team at the end of the year. I feel like Brian Keefe, I mean, like, take this with a grain of salt, but like, he might be a high-end assistant, like a good assistant head coach at the NBA level. I'm not sure if he's a good head coach at the NBA level, and coaching these Wizards teams over the last like year or so, really going to tank his overall record in the league as well. That kind of like the team that Wes Unseld struggled with, but like, any coach was going to kind of struggle with right now. You really have to like buy into your young coach. Feels like Charlotte's doing that with Charles Lee. Definitely Utah is doing that with Will Hardy. So maybe we're going to get like some hot shot young guy coaching this Wizards team next year, where we even heard like Will Dawkins say it in the offseason at the Summer League. He basically said, like, when he was asked, do you think this team could take a leap this year, maybe flirt with the playing tournament? He's like, we don't want to skip steps. We want to like go through the process of a rebuild, and basically saying without saying, like, we're going to try to lose games this year, collect our draft pick, which is a top 8 protected one. Then it like conveys to like a couple seconds to the Knicks, and we will have full control of our draft picks going forward. We still have some Phoenix Suns pick swaps, which are pretty valuable from the Bradley Beal trade, and we can really build the best future in the Eastern Conference, because, I mean, the East is going to be wide open for a few years. I think Boston, while they're going to get better next year with Tatum, they're still going to be beatable. They're not as good as strong or deep as OKC. Philly could be really good within the next few years with the jump that their young guys are taking, but they're going to be beatable. Cleveland, I don't know. Like, I don't think these teams are going to be as scary and as formidable at the top as like OKC is at the West, and none of these players have anybody more intimidating than Victor Wembanyama in the West. Like, Giannis is, but like the Bucks team is not as scary as like the rest of the OKC roster is around Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. So this year, I've really enjoyed Washington Wizards basketball. I think they do have a bright future still. It's still all TBD if they have like the number one on their roster. I think like if everything goes together and the stars align and they get actually a top 3 pick in a 3-headed race, we could figure that out going forward. I think Darren Peterson is probably the best fit, or Cameron Boozer on this team. Oh my God, Cameron Boozer and Alex Sarr in the front court would actually be electric, man. It would be so, like, you're looking at a lineup like going forward, you could figure out your point guard spot. Maybe it's Bub Carrington, and then it's Trey Johnson, Kyshawn George, or Cameron Boozer and Alex Sarr. Damn, that is freaking electric moving forward if they could pull off something like that. I mean, even adding Darren Peterson as your one, and then you have like Trey, Kyshawn, figure out the power forward, and then you have Sarr. Like, it might be Bilal Coulibaly, but I need to see Bilal be a little bit better of a shooter this year. And I think that's where Bilal can really like hone in his value in the league, if he could just be a good 3-point shooter. We saw like a little bit of an offensive leap at the start of last year. He really struggled with his efficiency in the second half of the season. I mean, he shot 34.5% from 3 as a rookie on 3 attempts tonight, but then it went down to 28% on 4 attempts last year as a sophomore, because Bilal, I think, has the wingspan, the length, the switchability to be a really good stretch 4 defender. And if he could be that stretch 4 where he can actually shoot 35% from 3, man, he's going to have some really good value next to Alex Sarr in that front court. Or even like with his wingspan and his length, you can experiment with some small ball lineups out there with Bilal Coulibaly at the 5. So he's a big like swing guy for the Wizards this year. Going into year number 3, He'll be extension eligible in the offseason. All the 2023 draft class guys will be. So like Cam Whitmore as well. I don't know. We just got to see Bilal this year. He didn't really have a strong Eurobasket. Then he gets hurt. So it's been an unfortunate offseason for Bilal. And as they add in these guys like Trey Johnson and like the 3 first-round picks in the 23 draft, once Bilal was like the main young piece, like on the 2024 Wizards, Bilal Coulibaly was like their main young guy that every Wizards fan was rooting for. And then it's like, oh, we have Sarr that we can root for. We have Kyshawn, we have Bub, we have Trey Johnson now. So he's kind of going down like that developmental pecking order or the scoring pecking order of all the young guys. So he'll be an interesting like fit when he comes back. Maybe we'll see the CJ minutes style back a little bit, the Chris Middleton minutes style back a little bit. But yeah, I've just enjoyed Washington Wizards basketball this year. If you guys did enjoy this, I would appreciate you dropping a thumbs up. Let me know if you want to see me just kind of do any of these like random check-ins on any of these teams throughout the NBA season, or maybe a specific topic on an individual player as well, where I can kind of just yap about for 20 or so minutes with you guys. So yeah, thank you guys all for watching. Drop a thumbs up if you guys did enjoy. Catch y'all on the next one. Peace.